I'm Eleni, and I'm going to talk about how to maintain respectful discussion in a team meeting when everyone is angry, upset, panicked, and tired. And we'll do this using HCL, human-centric leading. Now, we'll first draw out a triad. What are the thoughts, feelings, and behavior? Okay, this could be anyone, team leader, change maker, VP, entrepreneur, team leader, the highest in the hierarchy, the lowest, it doesn't matter. We're talking about the individual level. So one of the thoughts could be, well, we don't have enough time to finish the project, the quality is slipping, or it might slip. We feel very anxious because look at all these emotions of overwhelm, stress, anxiety, panic. And then what we do is we have lots of meetings to check in, which is kind of close to micromanaging. We're being curt and impatient because we're tired and we're angry. We don't notice our tone of voice. And we criticize and judge and blame intensely. So there's a lot of back and forth of criticism, judgment, and blame, which really raises the anxiety and the pressure. And there's always a focus on mistakes. And as you might learn from other videos I've done, positive psychologists remind us, as well as neuroscientists remind us, that when we focus on negative things, we bring in emotions of fear. So our body chemistry changes and we start to be fearful. When we focus on what works, we change our body chemistry and we feel better and we feel more hopeful and optimistic. So it's always useful to check what you focus on. What doesn't work or what does work? What doesn't work or what does work? Now, in order to deal with this is an emotional issue, okay? So it has nothing to do with that people are not thinking well because they don't have a strong IQ. It's the overwhelm of the emotions that affects their whole triad. So we would use emotions as data and we would figure out what are the emotions telling us that could help us solve the problem in the meeting at hand. We don't have to use these words if people are totally anti-emotions. We could just start to say, what are our concerns? Another way of saying it is use emotions as data is talk about concerns. And usually what people share are their emotions. So the small process for using emotions as data is name it, decode it, respond to it. Respond means you're choosing what you're going to do, not reacting. Reacting is without choice, is the default emotional behavior, but responding is I have choice, I'm calm enough to be able to choose. So I'm slowing things down enough to be able to think. So the first we chose a couple of these, anxious and overwhelmed, to do as a case. So the anxious, if you decode anxiety, you can think, okay, it's assuming the future is negative. It's future oriented, whereas worry is past oriented. Oh, it didn't work in the past. I worry it won't work in the future or in the present. And anxiety is saying, I'm worried this won't work in the future. So you can imagine, we don't have enough time to finish. We worry the quality is slipping, so it makes sense that we're in the future, right? We're anxious about, will it work? Okay? So if we respond to it, what could we do? Well, the first thing we could do is to think in the present. We're not in the future, we're not in the past. What could we do in the present moment to deal with either the timeline or the quality? So it brings you back to present. You come back to present. And in the present moment, what happens? All is actually well, because if you're at present, and that's the whole idea before the mindfulness movement, when you're mindful and you're like, okay, I'm here now, what could I do now to affect the future? So then I would know, I would collaborate about something. Like I would know, this is not specific enough to talk about it, but I would come to know what I need to do in this moment to deal with something we may not be able to finish and quality slipping. So we could come to the present moment and then figure out what do we do, right? So choose from present moment. And that when you come to the present moment, you can calm down. So notice this right now. Think about something you're worried won't happen. Your anxiety can increase in the moment. If you're thinking, but I'm right here now, I can be calm and think about what I could do right now to help me achieve my goal, you calm down immediately. It affects your physiology. You could even take a few breaths, deep. There are a lot of TED Talks about this number. So inhale at 4, hold the breath at 7, exhale at 8. Doctors and coaches are talking about this methodology. You do this 4 times, inhale at 4, hold at 7, exhale at 8. What that does is it calms your sympathetic nervous system so you can be calmer. And it can happen within 2 minutes. That's the beauty of it. Okay, so then, let's say you do this, excuse me, and then you're suddenly calmer. When you're calmer, you can think better, and you can speak in a more calm way, so you're no longer curt, or you're no longer focusing on CJB. Let's take another one. And then, of course, before we go on, when you're calmer, you help other people be calm, right? So when we're anxious, in front of an anxious person, and we're both anxious, what happens? We both get more anxious. If one of us can be calmer, it brings down the anxiety for everyone because of emotional contagion. We all sometimes feel what the other feels in most times. And the person with the most clear energy or the most, powerful energy really wins, so to speak, in the sense that they influence others. That's why people spend years doing yoga, meditation, mindfulness, so their nervous system has a calmer set point. They're not up here all the time. They're down here all the time. And so when they get anxious, they go up a little bit, but they don't go up very high, and then they can come down sooner. So that's the benefit of doing breathing exercises and just being mindful to be in the present moment. Now, overwhelm is probably one of the most common other feelings in addition to anxiety at work. Overwhelm means you're looking at the wide angle lens. You're looking at everything at the same time. So when you decode it, you figure out what does overwhelm mean, and there's a vocabulary. So, in the toolkits we offer, which are going to come out soon in the book, we talk about what each emotion means. It can mean something specific to you, but it generally means something in general that we could use to start with, right? So overwhelm means we're using a wide angle lens. I'm looking at what I didn't do, what I could do, what I should do, what I want to, what I would have done, what I could have done. Like, it looks at everything at the same time, and just speaking that way can make us feel anxious, right, and overwhelmed. So what you do to respond to it, choice, right? This is choice. You start to say, I will focus on 1 or 2 things that will help me achieve my goal in the moment. And so I choose, so I go and get a more narrow lens. I start saying, okay, I have all of these. Okay, if I get rid of what I should have done and I didn't do, and what I need to do or I want to do, or what will help me solve these problems, then I can start focusing and just do 1 or 2 things. And that helps prioritize what's most important. So when you're calmer, and then you start focusing, you stay away from wide angle, you narrow your lens and say, okay, what could I do today to make progress? Then the anxiety goes down, panic goes down, you feel even a little bit more energized, less stress, and you feel more in control as well, because you're like, okay, I can do something. What happens with overwhelm is we think of everything and we start to feel out of control because firstly, it's all at the same time. And secondly, we're thinking about a lot of things that we probably couldn't control anyway. When we start to focus, what can I do in this moment to succeed toward my goals, to finish on time, to make sure the quality doesn't slip, to deal with the context or the challenges at hand, then you're more able to think more creatively and speak in ways that are more respectful and calmer. So when you see yourself and others get into this trap, you can use emotions as data to use like 1 or 2 of the most intense emotions you're noticing, and then do this little exercise, calm down quite quickly, and then speak from there. You can link this with mindfulness. This is another way to do it. So mindfulness says I'm noticing what I'm doing, and I'm coming back to the present moment. Some people can't always do that, so this is another modality. There are lots of different modalities. Meditating, coming back to the present moment, using the mantra, be here now. I'm only here. I don't need to be in the future or the past. I'm right here. I'm okay. We will not die if this happens. What could we do to solve it? And then we find our ability to tap into creativity. So if you see yourself in this mode, you can use emotions as data to help yourself, even if you don't have any influence on anyone else. You do it with yourself, and when you calm down, you're more able to share ideas that could help and respond to other people who are being curt in a calm way.